only got like right by 128 and it was dry.
Weird. It's that convergence zone.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director Michael, are you ready? Can
Can I
start
chat a
now?
little bit longer? I responded quickly.
It's 5 o'clock on March 4th, 2024. Let's go ahead and get the work study started. It looks like we've got a presentation on dual credit board presentation and the 2023 CT dual credits information, all presented by Vonnie Walker and friends. All right, thank you.
And friends. Well, hi, I'm Vonnie Walker, Executive Director of Secondary Education, and thank you for having me here today, board members and Dr. Robbins. Today, we are going to talk about dual credit. It is a wonderful opportunity that those of us of a certain age group probably wish we would have had the opportunity to do when we were in high school. But it's something that is so positive and such a step in the right direction for kids who know where they want to go, know what they want to do, and are taking the steps to get that done while they're home in their houses and safe. So dual credit. I did bring a few people here with me today. You can go to the next slide. And I told them that they could that they would be here for answering questions at the end, but I will introduce them right now. You can stand up during the whole presentation or just stay seated. I mean, whatever's comfortable. So I have Emily Lefstad, and she's joining us from Marysville Getchell, and she currently teaches one of many things, but she teaches college and the high school in both math and science. So she's here to talk about specific questions around that. And then I have Meredith Jenks. She's here from Marysville Pilchuck, and she teaches AP classes, AP ELA at Marysville Pilchuck. And then I have Ryan Beatty. You may have seen him before, and he is here to talk about, they call it dual credit, actually, CTE dual credit. So that's just another way that we do different types of dual credit in this district. Next slide. So there are two ways to earn dual credit. Dual credit means I not only get my requirements met and my credit for high school, but I'm also getting college credit. Sometimes that's 5 quarter credits, semesters, depending on where you're going. But you can do that by passing a college course. Okay, so you can see that passing a college course is our CTE path that we do that for dual credit, and college in the high school, and then also running start. So those three things, you are actually taking college courses. They are aligned to the same standards that a student would take if they were on a college campus. In running start, they actually are over there on the college campus. And then the other one is getting credit by examination. So our AP classes, the way that you get AP credit is that you take the course, and then at the end you sign up for a comprehensive examination. Depending on your score from that examination, it will count for multiple different things. Amounts of credit. And it actually is different depending on the university that you're applying to. So we have a lot to teach kids as they're going through this process. There are different pluses and minuses to all of them. So we're going to go over that with you. Next slide. So Running Start. Running Start is an option available to our students. We do the majority of our Running Start through Everett Community College. I do believe we do a teeny bit through Skagit, but most of it is through Everett. And this is only available to juniors and seniors. And this is a, they travel them, they have to provide their own transportation. They go and they receive their credit on campus over there. And then we also recognize that here back at the high schools. The colleges do receive a portion of our FTE, right? Our apportionment from the state is based on our FTE. The colleges get that FTE. So if we have a student that is at Running Start all day, they would get the full apportionment for that student. If they're at Running Start for half the day, they would get half the apportionment, and then they come back here. So that's how they fund that over at the colleges. Our students do not pay any tuition to be able to go to college. So that's kind of nice for them. Although, like I said, they do have transportation, books, and things like that. So next slide. College and the high school. So these are the same courses that are taught in Running Start. These ones are done here by our esteemed staff. And the staff here, they teach these on campus, and these are open to 9th through 12th grade students. So that's kind of nice. We can get some 9th and 10th graders, and they have courses that are really designed that tend to be more applicable for those freshmen and sophomores. These are high school teachers. They all have a master's degree, and then there's a couple other things that they need depending on the classes that they're teaching, and the college puts those in place as to what they expect of those teachers. They also use the same curriculum and textbooks as you would see in the college. This is new and exciting. Starting this year, the 23-24 school year, this is completely free to students, and they can take as many as they want. So that's even a change from when my kids were in high school. And wow, what a nice thing for parents. It really helps when you're trying to make that decision as to whether or not you want your kids to join in those credits. So this is exciting that they have no tuition to pay. Students in college and the high school courses do not have to sign up for a college transcript. So they could just be in that class because they like the class as a high school class. They would just have it on their high school transcript. Their requirements are met and they graduate. We do encourage all students to go ahead and get the free college credit. But as you'll see a little bit later, sometimes that's easier said than done, but we're working on that. Next slide. And CTE dual credit. So CTE dual credit is, these are approved courses. They're approved by the state, and the course itself is also, I'm going to try to say this right, but there's a consortium of colleges that provide the college credit for these particular CTE courses. So the state works with that consortium of colleges, and that's how this comes to be. Again, these students, just like the college and the high school, they do have to register for that college to receive that college credit, because these students will basically have a college transcript. So when they do decide to go somewhere or apply for something where they might need these credits, they do the same way that anyone else would do. If I went to Everett Community College for a couple of years and then was transferring over to University of Washington, I have to send over my transcripts, right? And so they do have to register here also for those universities to get those credits there. Let's see here. It does cost $50. It's non-refundable, but our Marysville School District supplies all that money. So again, we offer this free of charge for all of our students. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is a little, just kind of a snapshot of what's going on currently. Now, when you're looking at these numbers, like we'll go ahead and start with college and the high school, you can see that it says that there are 680 students at Getchell and 436 at Pilchuck. These are not necessarily 680 separate students, because a student might be taking 2 or 3 college and the high school courses. So I just wanted to make sure that's the number of students enrolled in those classes. So you can see that there are 13 classes offered at Getchell that are college and the high school. There are 11 at Pilchuck that are college and the high school, and those are the number of students enrolled in those classes. In the dual credit CTE courses, we have 466 students enrolled in credit-bearing courses for Getchell in dual credit CTE, and then 137 at Pilchuck. And you'll see Legacy has a CTE program there now also, and 3 of those students are enrolled in credit. Now, I'm not sure on those Legacy ones if they go to some of the district ones. We'll just ask that of Ryan later when he's up here. And then let's see here, AP enrollment, you can see how many students and how many courses we offer for AP. And then Running Start, and how many students are taking advantage of courses at the Running Start at all the schools. Next slide. So what are some barriers that we work on? So you think, oh my gosh, this is such a no-brainer, right? Let's just get tons of kids doing this. And we absolutely agree. Some of the barriers that we run into is transportation for Running Start, right? So there are more choices for classes at the college campuses because, right, they have their whole menu practically available. We have more limited. So in order to go to Running Start, you really have to get that transportation figured out. Although I do believe they have online also. And then the hoop of registering separately for college, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because we've already taken steps this year to get over that hurdle. But as we change the culture of what students need and how many students really benefit from having college credits, it's hopefully going to change that narrative. But we can sit in a class of 30 students and say, all right, let's all sign up for college credit. And you have kids that go, no, I'm not going to college. And sometimes it's having those conversations and helping them understand that you may not want it now, but that is yours forever, right? You own that and you get to use that whenever you want. And then the other one is just a barrier is when we have students in AP classes, whether it's due to test anxiety, a bad day, whatever, there's a lot of weight just on that test at the end. So that can sometimes be a barrier also. They may not score where they at their level of proficiency because it's a one test, one place in time kind of a moment. So you can go ahead and go to the last slide here and we're trying to work on that. Right. So our goal is in 2027, we would like every scholar to graduate with 10 or more college credits. And that is very attainable for those of you that have students currently in school. If they're kind of going down that path of wanting to go to college, it's not unusual for our students to walk out of here almost fully matriculated sophomores. So you have to have 40 credits to be considered a matriculated sophomore. You still have to do all the freshman stuff, but I mean, kids walk out of here with 25, 30, 35 credits, and it's such a great thing to have going into college and knowing that you've pretty much got a year under your belt. Whether that means you get out in 3 years. Thank you, parents. Less money you have to pay, but also, freshman year is hard for a lot of kiddos, and maybe they might not do as well. And so there's a buffer there too. So anything we could do to get them pushing forward. So some strategies. We're working on better communication around the opportunities that are available and the benefits of dual credit. We were even just brainstorming today about working on getting some students to either come back or make a video that we can show students when it's time to sign up that says, hey, this is important. I'm so glad I did it because sometimes hearing from their peers, especially those that are just a little bit older. So we're coming up with ideas all the time. Communication and collaboration between the schools and the colleges. That always can get tightened up, whether it's just getting things in front of you to sign in a timely way, making sure that we have all the deadlines for what the college might need or what we need. It's always just good to have that really tight. We want to continue to grow the options for college and the high school and the offerings that are available in that area. I've talked to a couple different content areas in the high school, and they are excited about that move towards trying to diversify. Again, we kind of tightened everybody up, and now we're kind of looking at, might be good to get some other things in there for kids. Continue to offer pre-AP opportunities. So our AP courses, they definitely are a different type of thinking that you do. The AP would tell you that it's not necessarily harder or easier. It's different, and it's more collegiate, the way that they're asked to do their work. And so they have what they call pre-AP courses. So if students start engaging in a few pre-AP courses, English is an easy one to talk about. We have an 11th grade pre-AP, and then we have two different types of 12th grade pre-AP English classes. But AP. We have pre-AP in two levels. We have pre-AP 1 and pre-AP 2. And the idea is if you leave pre-AP 2, you're ready to go in and really tackle an AP course, take that assessment and get a good score. So doing that is good. One thing that the CTE team did this year, and it made a big impact, is when it was that timeline, like I was talking about, the different colleges have timelines you have to register for the class for. They went out as a team and walked into every classroom that had dual credit and had those students open up their laptops and walked them through the process of getting registered at a university. And it was just in time, right? It was right when they needed to have that stuff in, and it made a difference. I know that Ryan can probably even give me numbers, maybe, but we had more kids sign up this year with that support.
35
Credit, students.
students just registered and available to get the credit. So last year, only 30, and if there's questions about that, I can explain more.
Yeah, but massive difference just getting in there and working with the kids to do that. So that is my last slide. As you can tell, I did a huge overview, but what I do want to do right now is I want to bring up my teachers and Ryan up here, and I wanted them to be able to answer some of your questions because they're in the trenches every day with these kids, and they field these questions all the time, whether it's emails from parents or just questions from students. So come on up. So AP Meredith, Emily is college and high school, and Ryan will talk to the CTE.
Okay, board, do we have any questions or comments? Got a couple. I know Connor does.
I can start us out. I think Ryan, maybe this involves you a little more, but So I look at the back page of this. I don't know if we went through these slides. And are you talking about this later or is this about,
Okay, yeah, I know what that is, yeah.
okay. So back the Legacy High School CTE dual credit courses versus Pilchuck versus I'm guessing Getchell. It seems like there's a bunch of different opportunities depending on what high school you attend. Are these opportunities, are kids from Pilchuck able to utilize opportunities from Legacy or Getchell? Or does it depend on what high school you go to determines the CTE dual credit?
It depends on the course. So if you take like a Microsoft Office course, it's this, if you take it at Pilchuck or at Legacy, that course is articulated with usually a community college and you get credit. So it's all on the course. So if the course is offered at that school, then and you take it, you can get that credit.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, video documentary at Pilchuck, video production. I know Pilchuck has the kind of the media center. I'm wondering if there are kids who are at Legacy who want to pursue that. It doesn't look like there are CTE, courses at Legacy that are based around, videography and stuff
That's
like that.
correct,
And
yeah.
so, are we thinking about these things in terms of, we want to set our kids up for success regardless of where their parents decided to move within Marysville? Do we plan on expanding different courses that are available at certain high schools to other high schools or?
Yeah, so basically any CTE course that we offer, we look at our local colleges. And if there's something that is similar that we can partake in, we engage in a conversation with them to articulate that course and get it accredited for college credit. So anything that we have that might be out there, we explore to see if we can get it, and then we start that process.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I'm really just pointing out the different opportunities
Well,
at the different
Yeah,
schools.
I mean, in theory or in actuality, students from somewhere could go and take it somewhere else if it's offered somewhere else, if we can figure out the logistics for that.
Isn't that similar to like the NJROTC program where that falls under CTE?
Yep.
But we have kids from Getchell going down to Pilchuck to participate in the mornings, right?
Yeah, we have a number of district-wide programs because we can't house everything everywhere, that students travel between campuses and go to those. We have like 5 programs that are designated district-wide.
And I think that was my question.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
so thanks. Yeah, thanks for answering that. I did have one more question. And I think that this actually answered it for me, but I'll ask anyways. For the CTE dual credit, have we started talking to different trade schools that aren't necessarily colleges and see if we can kind of work a dual credit into those types of institutions? I'm thinking about the RAP program, and I'm thinking about our auto mechanics. I'm thinking about our, manufacturing programs that we have. So not necessarily the college pipeline, but more so the trade pipeline.
Specific trade schools.
Correct.
Yeah. Right now, like RAP and our auto program are Everett and Lake Washington, I think. We're working on that. We're exploring that. We haven't figured out that the trade school component that's not a community college or a four-year university.
Right.
Yeah. Not yet, but we're working on it.
Thanks.
I think the only thing I thought of is, so Ellie, my daughter, did Running Start and it was awesome, but getting registered was a nightmare. Because nobody really knew how to do it. And I'm just wondering if there's more support than there used to be, in signing up and just understand. There's just a lot to know to start out.
Yeah, it's like you're going to college there's not much difference between enrolling. So our counselors at both of I should say at all the schools, because I would assume that Legacy and Heritage have that same, or they would call a colleague, but they all know how to help the students. And because they make that 4-year plan, they're already talking to kids. Kids are saying in their freshman and junior years, I'm thinking about Running Start. So they start getting that information. It's more prevalent now. So I think that just in and of itself makes it a little bit easier. There's more knowledgeable people that can help them get signed up for that. So for sure at each building, but I would even say each counselor, that's probably one of their.
Yeah, because
focus.
when we went through it, the counselor just didn't seem to be very well trained in it,
Okay.
but it's been a few years, so
Yeah.
just.
I'm happy to look into that, but I've not heard that with students that are currently enrolled that they're still struggling. So hopefully that means that we figured it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Michael?
So a couple of things. Appreciate the opportunities for our kids, and I appreciate having opportunities in our high schools for kids who don't necessarily want to go to Everett Community College to still have a challenging curriculum and have access to that curriculum. So I appreciate both the college and the high school and AP. Those are great things. While I've been tracking legislation, just something for folks to note, there's a bill that just passed that would let rising juniors, so sophomores, the summer before their junior year, I think they're calling it walking to Running Start. They let them take 10 credits.
Oh.
So it's waiting for the governor to sign it, but it's one of the few things that have passed so far this session. So just for folks to know. And then I guess I'm curious how college and the high school classes are viewed by colleges, and how do we know what curriculum colleges are using, what textbooks they're using, and how do we keep that current?
So it's transcripted on their EVCC transcript. So a college will see that there, and they won't necessarily even know it was a college in the high school class. On their high school transcript, that same class has the CHS or subnotation by it. But in terms of the credits, they're equivalent. There's no difference between them taking the class on campus or taking it at the school. So any credit that's accepted by, University of Washington, Western, whatever, it doesn't matter where the kid earned the credit.
Okay.
It will look the same. What was your second question?
Well, I'm curious about just the curriculum and the materials, and how do we stay current with whatever EVCC is teaching or Western is teaching or someone else?
So we have to align our curricula with what EVCC is requiring us to do. So we teachers just need to make sure we do that. We have professional development at the community college every year in some form. Sometimes it's online, sometimes it's in person. Our department heads at EVCC, because all the college and the high school instructors are adjunct faculty at EVCC. So we are required to, maintain contact with our department heads. Our department heads send out information when they send it out to their regular faculty. So we, as CHS high school teachers, just have to make sure that we're on top of that.
Got it.
I would like to say one big difference is that we stretch out a 5-credit course over an entire year, whereas if you take it in Running Start, it's 1 quarter. So for kids who struggle with the pacing of high school, this is one way for them to get those credits without being really overwhelmed with the super fast pace.
Right. And do kids still need to register by a certain period of time in the
Yes.
quarter or whatever, even though they don't have to pay the money, they still have to say they want it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's deadlines that get posted, and I posted in Google Classroom with my kids, and I talked to them about my kids. Another thing to consider is there are prerequisites that have to be met for a lot of classes. So for instance, one of the classes I'm teaching right now is just Biology 100, which is just an entry-level biology class. But any 9th grader who's in pre-algebra, they aren't in a high enough math class. So there are some credentials the kids have to have met before they can take a class for college and high school. For AP Stats that I teach, kids have to have taken Algebra 2. Otherwise, they can't take college and high school for AP stats. They can still take it as AP stats and take the test,
Right,
but they couldn't qualify for the college and high school.
right. Well, I'm glad you brought up AP because not- stop asking questions after this, but I was gonna let this one sit, but you brought up AP. So one of the things Connor was asking about was kind of district-wide programs. And I know for some of our AP classes, there's not always enough enrollment to necessarily run a class
True.
at one high school. And I guess I'm curious about what kind of flexibility we might have to let kids from Pilchuck join a class over at Getchell, or let kids from Legacy join a class at Getchell, so that you have enough volume so that you can teach an AP stats class, for example, or an AP chem class, or
We share kids a lot around this district, so it would work very well. It's if you have a whole class down there, then I have to call Kim over in transportation and see if we can make it work. But it is amazing. It's like a little transit system around this town. We're moving kids constantly. And I've watched for sure, the 4 different high schools have already worked together on other courses like that. So there's nothing that's holding us back from that. It's really just a matter of doing a couple. I'm not a secretary too. So just a couple clicks in Skyward. I'm sure they're like, yeah, thanks, Bonnie. It's probably a little bit more than that, but we just have to transfer over that one period of the day to the other school. A couple little things like that, but we do it. We do it for other things. We could do it for that for sure.
okay, okay.
And that's a good thought to keep in mind. And we are always, again, we really want to push kids to maximize their potential. And I believe that we have plenty of students to fill those classes. They just don't know that they're ready for it. So we'll work hard to get them there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I really think we need to make sure we come up with a question for Meredith here, because, she came all this way.
I actually have a question, if that's okay. So, I mean, and definitely Director Michaels, Dr. Michael, it's just difficult because, you have a kid who may want to take AP macroeconomics,
Right.
but there may only be 3 kids who want to take AP macroeconomics. So it comes down to making sure that students know that these are opportunities. So this question is both for our college and the high school and advanced placement, because I just had a conversation with a group of 15 students or so about college level classes and advanced placement. From what you all see in your classes, what would you say is the next step to get more kids willing to try?
To be willing to try. So, okay, this is me getting on my philosophical soapbox a little bit here.
I totally teed you up for it.
Thanks. So I personally teach AP Literature, which is seniors, and every year I am constantly convincing my juniors, because I teach just general education, junior English as well. I'm constantly talking to them and looking out for, hey, you could actually try this class. Oh, no. Like, yes, you actually could. Most of that conversation that I end up having with them is either, well, now we call it pre-AP, but in the past, honors. Well, I took honors and it wasn't very interesting and I don't want to do that anymore because I'm tired. Or that's an answer a lot of students give me. Or they have zero self-confidence, just zero in their ability to do hard, rigorous work in a particular area of content because of a number of reasons. So from what I see, and I only see this literature angle, right? I don't know what it looks like in math and science and the other ones, but a lot of it has to do with that relationship that we build with our students from day one, them trusting that we see something in them that they don't see yet about themselves. And the more we can do that through all of our classes and advisory and coaching and all the things we do to build relationships with kids and make sure they understand that we do believe in them and they have a lot more in them than just sitting here and filling things out every day. That's me on my little soapbox. So there you go.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Davis?
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
I was just gonna say also, I know,
apologize. Please go on.
especially for my math classes, because I teach AP Stats and AP Calculus for college and high school credit when we have enough kids to run the classes. Um, a lot of kids, they just don't want to work that hard their senior year or whatever. And a lot of kids end up getting jobs. Yeah, I mean, they're just really busy. And it's not that they're totally avoiding all the AP classes, but they are realistic about what they can handle with all the other busyness that they have in their lives. And so, it's like, well, I might take AP Lit, but I'm not going to take AP Calculus. I'm going to take, math and society or financial algebra because I know AP Calc is going to be a lot of work, whatever. So some kids are making really good choices in terms of whether they take that AP class or not.
Maybe we should add a time management class.
An AP.
AP time management? Yeah.
Some of my questions were discussed. I agree with Connor about finding opportunity for some of the trades as a part of these programs, because we do have a lot of kids that are looking to go directly into the workforce after they graduate. And I just wondered, when talking about the little transit system for kids to go around to another school for a course that's being offered that might not be at their school, if they could do online courses in that situation, and stay right in the school that they're at. Saving in transportation cost and just a disruption in their day, and just a thought. But also I wanted to say that I know that Heritage is doing big picture learning, but I wonder about finding a way to ensure that our Heritage students also have an opportunity to participate in these programs if they so choose to.
Yeah, we do. We have a number of heritage students that go to our culinary school cafe, and
I did Schoolhouse Cafe in Marysville.
yeah.
It was awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah, that course is not, but we do have, with the big picture and even Legacy being on a block schedule instead of a 6-period day, we're trying to figure out ways to line up the scheduling where students can come consistently to those types of classes. So it's a logistic thing that we're kind of trying to figure out this year.
Nice. And shout out to Meredith. We graduated together. And she was my son's teacher.
That means you couldn't get away with it.
So I have a couple comments, I believe for you, Ryan. So you mentioned in the last presentation that there's a consideration perhaps with some legislation about adding 6th grade to the CTE program so that we get a 6th, 7th, 8th, which makes a lot more sense than just 7th and 8th in our middle schools and kind of excluding 1 grade. I know it's only been 2 weeks. Any progress, any updates on that topic?
Yeah, and it's not good. As of this year, OSPI doesn't see it as being cost effective to go forward with 6th grade right now. We're still advocating for it, but we'll probably have to keep pushing and wait for the next session to move that forward.
Okay. And then my second thing is you and I had and Dr. Robbins completed. Who else? Was Kristen with us? Were you with us at Snow Isle?
I was.
Yeah, so several of us in this room did that tour of Snow Isle, which was really cool. And there's a lot of alignment between our CTE program and what they do over there. So I didn't see any mention of the dual credit, but I know that's also on the dual credit pathway. And so our partnership between our CTE program and Snow Isle is very similar, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and one of the questions I never really got answered is how much overlap do we have there? Or robustness of program? Like if a child is thinking, oh, where should I go? Am I going to be better served at CTE? Should I stay here? Or what would make me choose to go to Snow Isle instead of our own programs?
Well, hopefully, if we have the similar programs in a comprehensive school district that like they're healthy and quality, like that students like go to their high school or whatever. If that's not the case, then we have work to do because our programs should be high quality. Our programs also should be launching pads to the programs at the skill center. And so a lot of our programs are exploratory in nature, like to start off with, and then they go get the advanced stuff at the skill center.
All right. Yeah, that answered my question right there. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion from the board? Dom, last chance, Dom? Good? Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation on the various forms of dual credit, AP, all I think it's amazing that we can now start taking the college courses in the classroom and get credit for the classes that they're already taking. I mean, those numbers are staggering about how many kids are actually in these classes already. And the fact that we went from 30 to 700.
Now, when I say that is students that have registered. Now they're in the system, and now once they complete the course, if they want the college credit, then they can take the next step and get it. But
Yeah.
we haven't. Yeah, it's in a, and when you said running start, how complicated it was, it is really complicated these days to register in the different. You have to do 3 different systems just to you have to get into SERS, and you have to get into like the college system, like in CTC Link is what they call it at the community. So there's all these things that we have to navigate that we've never had to navigate before. And it's, that's why we put a team together to try to help students out because it's challenging.
Yeah. I guess the point is that with those numbers, you're creating an amazing foundation to get these kids further along that pathway. So thank you. I guess that is the end of our work study session. It is 5:36 p.m. We will start back up at 6 o'clock with our regular session. So thank you, everybody, and we appreciate you.
Recording stopped.
Thanks for coming down.
Recording in progress.
Have an orange.
Yeah. They're laughing too much.
Can read this.
Lisa.
Oh.
And so this is the presentation that she.
Okay, well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. It is 6 o'clock. This is March 4th, 2024, and I am going to call this meeting to order right now. First thing on the agenda is the flag salute. And Dr. Robbins, would you be so kind as to lead us? If you have hats on, please take them off.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You. All right. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and the water. We will strive to be honest, about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, their stories, and their voices to form a more just and equitable society. This time, I would hear a motion for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Robbins, if you will.
President Reinhardt, members of the board, Zach Robbins for the record. It's time to march into kindergarten. Online registration for children entering kindergarten is now open. Help spread the word. The Kindergarten Readiness Night hosted by the Early Learning Center had over 300 attendees. Principal Jennifer Casarino and staff, thank you for coordinating a successful event. Strawberry Festival royalty, congratulations to Queen Sarah Reed, Prince Christopher Ross, and Princess Carol Roosh Brown, 3 Marysville Getchell High School students who will join the 2024 Marysville Strawberry Festival Royalty Court. Each was crowned at the recent pageant. The students will participate in the local festival parade and activities in June and will serve as ambassadors for Marysville across the Pacific Northwest at several parades. Each student will receive a scholarship from the April Friesen Memorial Scholarship Fund. 10th Street Middle School 7th graders earned first place in the mock trial competition, and one of the 8th grade teams earned 3rd place. 2 students, Mia and Hannah, tied for Best Witness, and student Lucas H. earned Best Lawyer. A big shout out to Mr. Hansen, who leads this effort. In addition to the mock trials at 10th Street, high school students with the support of the YMCA are headed to state on March 22nd. Good luck at state. Congratulations to the PTSA Reflections Arts winners. Congratulations to those art winners and the volunteers who make this possible for children. This year's theme is I Am Hopeful Because. The following students' art will move on to state. In visual arts, primary, Oakley F., Jessica M., and Amelia D. Intermediate, Annabella N., Zalayla B., Zara M. Special artists, all grades, Emily P., Matthew K., and Mercy G. Middle school, Haley L. and Lily M. And high school, Leah M. In literature, moving on to state, intermediate, Rachel B., Lisham G., and Eleanor N. Dance choreography, Mia G., and music composition, Savea K. The Reflections celebration will be held on March 28th at 6 p.m. at Legacy High School, and that is my report. And congratulations to all those fantastic students and their families.
Thank you, Dr. Robbins. Next on the agenda is our communications and reports. So we'll start off with Education Support Professionals Month presented by Alvin Cooper, Executive Director of Human Resources. Welcome, Alvin.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The state of Washington has a proclamation, whereas educational support professionals are involved in nearly every aspect of education, maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, assisting in the classroom, providing over 60% of all instructional hours to special education, English language learners, and opportunity gap students, performing and conducting research activities, providing information technology and media services, administrative support functions, and safe transportation, creating secure and healthy environments, and many other specialized services. And whereas more than 62,000 educational support professionals work and help students in Washington's universities, college, and public schools, are the backbone of our public education system and deserve recognition and thanks for the outstanding work they do for the state and their community. And whereas educational support professionals are instrumental in fulfilling the state's responsibility to educate all students, and by supporting the learning environments they serve as critical part with teachers, parents, administrators, and school board. Now, therefore, I, J.M. Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim March 11th through the 15th, 2024 as Educational Support Professionals Week in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Presented by Governor Jay Inslee. This day, May 4th, 2024. I might also like to just a special shout out to all our educational service people in the district, truly are the backbone. We couldn't do it without any of them. So while it is a week, but it's definitely a month, and we should also give thanks all the way around. So thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Yeah, very much appreciated. Next, we have staff, student, or board reports, department updates presented by the district leadership team. I don't know where we're starting this time. Maybe use a different one.
Hello, test. Okay.
There we go.
Lisa Gonzalez, Executive Director of Finance and Operations. A couple of updates. Transportation funds were rebalanced at the state level. We had anticipated receiving $7.8 million for fiscal year 23-24, but through the state rebalancing, we are now receiving an additional $829,000. That is super exciting, but I want to remind everyone that transportation funds can only be spent on transportation and nothing else. So while it's great that we've got money coming in, it doesn't necessarily address some of the other challenges we've been working with. Second update is that in contracts, we're trying to streamline the creation and use of contracts district-wide with some extensive work with our general counsel. And I know this at times has been frustrating for school sites because there seem to be a number of different forms out there. And so we're really trying to consolidate everything into one to make sure that we are really minimizing as many risks to the district as possible. And then last but not least, our demographer, Flow Analytics, provided drafts for us at the end of last week that we've been using. They provided low, medium, and high forecast numbers for this next year. We are estimating at this point a decrease of approximately 231 students. And so we will be bringing the enrollment projections for the board to take a look at in an upcoming meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, Lori Knudsen, Executive. Trainer cohort model for leaders from each Snohomish County School District. The goal is to ensure that knowledge of trauma-informed classroom management and behavioral strategies is known by a few key staff members who can help coach colleagues and lead professional development. Schools will identify learners at the elementary levels to participate. Educators enrolled will select either the implementation focus cohort or the strategy focus cohort. Certificates of completion will be granted to participants who attend sessions by Snohomish County officials in June 2025, in addition to other incentives for participation, including clock hours. You'll hear more about this amazing opportunity in this evening's presentation from the Student Services Department.
Hi, good evening. Michelle Roper, Executive Director of Special Ed and Student Services. Special Education and Student Services has been busy providing support in schools via meetings, addressing specific student needs, and planning for staffing in the upcoming 24-25 school year. The department continues to work on establishing clear and understandable procedures for special education related processes. The department is currently working on implementing wellness groups for student and middle schools. This group is trauma informed, and the purpose of the group is to help regulate students and provide them with applicable coping skills for school and home. Lastly, MSD was excited to learn today that we have been awarded an assistive technology grant to provide access to training in inclusionary practices that will support special education with providing adaptive technologies, support students in accessing high quality learning environments without limitations, and will support student equity and inclusion.
Hello, Vonnie Walker, Secondary Education. So our Secondary Teaching and Learning Department has been busy working on staffing for the 24-25 school year based on that projected enrollment that Dr. Gonzalez just talked about. Our building leaders are ready to do what it takes to help support our fiscal goals, so they're ready to jump in and do that work for next year. Also, some fun things that are going on in the buildings right now is work around aligning themselves with the MTSS model, or the multi-tiered systems of support model. And what this does is this really helps staff to engage in systems that make their work smarter, not harder, right? Really knowing what comes next for students and meeting them where they're at. It helps them to develop a common vocabulary. And so feedback has been really positive from the staff members that are engaging in this type of work at their buildings. They're looking forward to continuing to grow in that. And then finally, a team of fantastic staff members and I have been working on a proposal for a fiscally responsible middle school athletic program. That's something that we want to put together. We know we can't run a full program, but we're looking at making sure that we have one that creates a lot of opportunities and stretches throughout the whole year. So I look forward to having that for you very soon as we just get the final details together. Thank you.
Good evening, Alvin Cooper. Alvin Cooper, dealing with allergies. You might have heard the projected enrollment numbers are in. So in the HR department, we have been collaborating with the other central departments to create a school budget process to work with our principals. It's something that Vonnie just mentioned. We're also working with communications office to make sure we have actually a streamlined, clear process for principals to come and deal with the budgeting process, what the staffing look like for SY 24 school year 24-25. It's been a busy job. Our analysts are looking forward to working with the principals. We've been back and forth between elementary and secondary, making sure that our numbers match up and what will be the over under if we're looking at reductions or if we're looking at hiring. We are very conscientious of not overstaffing. So there's been a lot of man hours put into that. And as you know, we are still in recruiting season. So we're also going out and about at night to try to find some critical need areas that Dr. Roper mentions often in special ed. So we're also trying to shore up our area of trying to get us away from some contractual services and hire people in our special ed department where we sorely need. So that's where we are. Thank you.
Hi, Claudette Rushing, General Counsel and Risk Management. I'll just go over kind of a quick rundown. It's been very busy. So for contracts, I've reviewed a lot of end of year contracts for schools and service provider contracts for both general and special education services. For risk management, I had the opportunity to tour Liberty Elementary School and Cascade Elementary School last week with a representative from Washington State Risk Management Pool to explore the possibility of obtaining grant funding for classroom doors. Those are two of the older school buildings in the district, and it's very interesting. There are no doors. They have to use curtains and partitions. So we were exploring that opportunity. I don't know how fruitful it'll be, but it was really interesting and I think a good experience for me to see those schools firsthand and to also hear feedback from Risk Pool about ways we can mitigate risk and kind of make those facilities safer. I also met with the executive board of the Washington State Risk Management Pool in Seattle last week, and we scheduled another right response training for staff, which is actually going on this week, March 5th and 7th. That is our district de-escalation program that helps folks work with students in need and resolve problems safely. We also convened the safety committee last week and got lots of great feedback from representatives across the district and all of the different school buildings and different roles like bus drivers, paras, different labor partners. And I've shared that information around with the executive team. I've also done a lot of field trip approval. We've got a lot of great trips going on this spring to the zoo, the aquarium, various museums, lots of busy students and plans. And then we have our ongoing work of policy review and revision. You'll see tonight there's 4 on the docket, and I'm very excited. We're about to move into the 2000 series, so we'll get more into the substantive need of education here soon. And And last but not least, we have complied with lots and lots of legal requests and various privileged matters on behalf of the school district.
All right, thank you, everybody. Did I miss anybody this time? No? Glad I didn't forget you, Claudette. Okay, next up, we've got the Tulalip Tribes Ambassador Update presented by Jessica Bustad, Executive Director, Tulalip Tribes Education Division. Jessica, welcome.
Hello. Hello, my name is Jessica Bustad, Executive Director of the Tulalip Education Division. And I missed Claudette's title. What is it? General Counsel? Okay, thank you for that. So I just wanted to share a couple things. I'm not sure if there was a educators consortium, Native Education Consortium at the end of February. I'm not sure if any of the school board directors or any other district staff were able to attend, but it was an opportunity to fulfill requirements. House Bill 1426 mandates a 5-hour government-to-government training in renewing administrator certificates. Senate Bill 5252 states that at the beginning of September 1st, 2024, school board members, superintendents, and any other staff at school districts that are required to perform tribal consultation must take and certify completion of the 3-hour strengthening tribal consultation training. So I just want to make note of those and hope that everyone in their appropriate roles are following these bills and laws appropriately. The contact at OSPI in the Office of Native Education is Maxine Alex. So if you don't have her contact, you can Google it. And then the next one, so supporting youth, House Bill 1956 just passed the House and Senate regarding addressing fentanyl and other substance use prevention education. This is a very important topic that has to continue to be addressed. When we think of the work needed to be done around substance use, I want to take it a step further and include bullying and gang violence. We know that we hear from parents and families a lot and community members around bullying. And now we're starting to have more discussions around gang violence. And so thinking of that, I just wanted to share our children need more from us. And our children need belonging, purpose, and a positive self-identity. It's crucial to the healthy development. We need more support for mental wellness resources for all students. Addressing depression and mental health disorders while destigmatizing counseling and therapy is an important step to growing our students to becoming healthy, contributing members of society. As adults, we have to show up and be our best selves and heal for our children. And that includes us as adults working for the district. This brings me to my next point. We know that there has to be some intensive repairing and restoring of the relationships within the Marysville School District. It's been a rocky school year from our standpoint. And I know as a parent of the Marysville School District and a partner to all of the district employees, it is crucial that our educators and students get the support that they need and deserve. We have to uplift those on the front lines serving our children so that they can do the best of their ability. And this means supporting teachers and all frontline staff. Moving forward, we will continue to request and monitor increased accountability and transparency, consistent and ethical communication, policy review, reform, and compliance that will have the students' best interests at the forefront. As leaders, we can all do better. I want to do better as a leader for the tribal government representing Native students in the school district, and I challenge all of you to do the same. We have to work together. We have to support our teachers who are there with our children for hours in a day. And so I just wanted to share that piece of it, that it's important for us as Tulalip. Not only are we sharing our support for district, but we're sharing our support for the teachers as well. And that comes with accountability, communication, and whatever we have to do for next steps to make sure that we're honoring the teachers and educators for who they are. And I just wanted to share Matt Remley and his team, the Indian education team of the school district, have been working really hard on the 506 forms, and they are at 1,141 506 forms collected, which is the highest number that he's seen so far. So we just wanted to commend them. Tomorrow, the Tulalip Tribes, our department, our Positive Youth Development team, will be hosting a family advocacy training with our Office of Legal Aid, our TOCLA department within the tribal government, to find ways to support students in the Marysville School District who need that additional legal advice and support. We're having a literacy event on Wednesday down at the Don Hatch Youth Center. And then the Indian Education Department is going to be hosting, in partnership with our department, round dance at Totem Middle School on Thursday. So thank you.
Jessica. Next up, Student Services Program Overview Report presented by Sandra Madrigal, Student Services Coordinator. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Board of Directors, Dr. Robbins. I'm happy to talk with you guys today about the amazing work going on in student services. Again, my name is Sandra Madrigal, Student Services Coordinator for the district and licensed mental health therapist. And I kind of just wanted to start off by saying, as a graduate of Marysville School District, it is really an honor to be able to talk to you about this today, because I really think it's important to have robust mental health services within our district, counseling services, and supports for our youth. And so it's really a labor of love for me and then also our team. So next slide. Let's get started. So there's me, and we have Ryan Saganek, and all of them are right here, so they'll wave so you see who they are. Ryan Saganek, who's a licensed mental health therapist, point 3 on my team. He also does Marysville Coalition, and Ashley Zetterland and Jessica Flores. They'll wave their hands. They are district student support advocates that do amazing work. And then the link there takes you to our student services flyer that everyone kind of gets. It's on the website too, and kind of gives you a menu of the services that we provide. Next slide. So what we do is we offer lots of different tiered supports at the social emotional level. So at this point, Michelle, you can hand these little kits out. So Michelle's going to hand out some kits to you all so you can take a look at what is inside of them. And really, that's one example of the services we provide. So we give students comfort kits that have things in them that they can smell, they can kind of feel, they can draw or write. So these are the ways that students can kind of regulate or deal with their emotions. So this is something we do a lot of. We also help buildings with support around check-in, check-out systems for students. So students that need more of like an individual check-in. Something that's very exciting that we got started this year was wellness groups, and that's been implemented through all of our middle schools. And that was based on data from those middle schools on students that needed a little bit of extra support. And really the goal around that is to really destigmatize mental health and to really kind of make it known that all of us need wellness. And so really it's taking the stigmatization out and making sure that we're really showing that us as adults also show how to regulate our emotions and help with that type of work. So, and then of course at the tier 3, we have more of the mental health therapy that Ryan and I support on, and we do that within our schools as well. And there's also green folders that are kind of dispersed out there too. That's for our elementary age students. Next slide. So one of the things we really work on implementing district-wide is making sure that we have a good social emotional learning curriculum. So my team will go out and kind of help assist with that if there's buildings that kind of need some support around making sure that that gets implemented. And then one of the things that we also do is provide some professional development around zones of regulation. And that part of the comfort kits is the zones of regulation, is really helping students to identify what it is that they need that will help them to get regulated and back to feeling good so that they can attend to their school and then also show up and be a part of their schooling. The thing that you may see us, me and Ryan and other people that are our guests, is Wellness Wednesdays. And it's just a very brief video that we give out to student, staff, and families that just give a very quick tip on how to regulate our emotions. And then my team put together amazing resources. It's a huge list. It's on our website that just gives lots of different resources within our community. Next slide. It's important to note the additional supports that we provide. So my team goes out routinely to any crisis situation that occurs within our district, and we help to mitigate what's going on out there along with safety and security. We've developed within our team and for the district. So counselors and administrators are aware of our suicide protocols. So we've created a protocol, we've created a screener, and then we also kind of manage what kind of comes through. So it flags to our team, and then we reach out to the buildings to make sure that there's nothing else needed. And we facilitate a lot of collaboration with community partners, which is one of the highlights I'll talk about later. And of course, because we know there's an immense need for drug and alcohol prevention and curriculum within our district, we were able to get our SSAs trained through the coalition for Train the Trainers on Botman Life Skills, which is an evidence-based curriculum. We were able to purchase that with grants. So we're actually implementing that in a couple of our schools that are ready to go with that. Next slide. So this is just, I really wanted to kind of bring this data up for all of you so that you guys are able to see from last year to this year. There's just been a little bit of kind of change within the graph. What we're seeing more of now is building support, which I think is a great thing because a lot of our buildings now are aware of our services. So they reach out to us, we're able to connect more, and that's really super helpful. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that part. And most of our time is spent in direct student services. Next slide. So I just wanted to note the data. So because we were able to put those systems in place for our team, we're able to track and monitor what's kind of going on. And I think that this is particularly important because we've seen 147 suicide screeners this year. And what's helpful is we're able to tier 3, so our team at the tier 3 part, we're able to reach out to the buildings to make sure there's not additional services. What's really important about this is that students are able to be tracked and we are able to get effective services in place, whether that's immediately within our team or hook them up with resources outside for, some long-term mental health help. 34% of those required further clinical evaluation, and me and Ryan can kind of provide those services, or we partner with community if we need that too. Next slide. So right here just gives our current data up to now. We've had 93 secondary tier 3 referrals and 43 elementary. And as you see, that's a little bit higher than last year. It shows a 30% increase in referrals at the same time last year. Did I say that right? And what it really shows for us and for me is that this is a really good, it shows that there's effective things going on because we're able to continue to implement and help, with student services. So this to me is good news. Next slide. So this is just to note, there's 136 total referrals so far this year, and 53% of those wanted mental health services. So I just wanted to note that for you guys. So the projects we're working on are super exciting, and I love them all. So next slide. So earlier, Lori talked about the trauma-informed practices in schools. This is a really wonderful thing for us to be able to partner with Snohomish County on. This also actually is kind of married to the University of Washington work that we're doing on crisis prevention and protocols that we'll be putting in place. And so, as Lori kind of stated earlier, it's really about getting teacher leaders, counselor leaders, staff leaders in to kind of get trained on these practices so that we continue to kind of spread that out so that everyone gets trained in that. And then we started an MSD crisis oversight team. This is in accordance with the RCW there. I won't list all those numbers out, but really that is the RCW that says all school districts should have a screening process in place for crisis oversight. And so that's why the team was developed so that we can get that going and done. And we're working with UW on that. Our suicide screener was updated this year, so it's fresh, ready to go. And then we're establishing a universal screening, and that's the screener right there, student risk screening. And it's piloted at Grove and Schultes so far this year with great results because we're able to see which students need that kind of fall into that tier 2, tier 3 that need intervention so their school counselors can work with them, or they might reach out to us if it's a little bit bigger. But this is great. We're going to train all of the counselors in this by the end of the year. Next slide. So drug and alcohol prevention, super important. We have immense need for this. And so some of the highlights that I'm super excited about is that we've continued our partnership with the ESD. We have one SAP up at MG. That's a student assistant professional that helps with referral resources for drug and alcohol. We attempted to get one for MP. There just was no applicants. And so if there would have been applicants, we would have been able to do that, which would have been great. So we're going to continue that partnership and hope that we can make that happen. We partner with Marysville Coalition, and that's Ryan's other gig. And that really is district-wide, being able to do drug campaigns throughout our district, but also our community, which is important. We partner with Catholic Community Services. Amanda Fung's amazing. She comes out and does drug and alcohol prevention presentations to schools that want to have that. And she's been to most of our middle schools and high schools this year, which is great. And again, drug and alcohol with BOTVIN. And yeah, I already mentioned all that. So next slide. And then I wanted to mention the other project is Comprehensive School Counseling Program Plan, the CSCP. So this year, the work is really exciting. We've been able to align a monthly wellness that will be established per month in buildings starting next year. Examples are, and we already have them picked, but per month, it would, for instance, would be kindness. So counselors are going to do some campaigning around kindness, and then the next month might be community. So it's just these different things to really kind of bolster prevention. As I mentioned, universal screening, Schultes and Grove, great results. We're going to continue with that. And we're already partnering with principals on getting everybody on board with that. Something that's new to us is reviewing counseling plans with administrators and counselors. So we're going to continue that work in alignment with ASCA standards. And we're really focusing on data-driven decision-making. And we have monthly counselor meetings. Next slide. Partnerships. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is really, I think, really important. And this is something that we didn't necessarily have before altogether ongoing. So our formal partnerships are with Snohomish County. That's with 2 student support advocates through them at MG and MP. And then we have our own district ones. And then we have the Northwest ESD, which is where all the SAPs come from. We want to continue that partnership to get that work going within our district. We have an official MOU with Smoky Point, which is amazing. Like, that's a huge win for us. So we've got an MOU with them. They're located at MP and MG. They started at MG, which is great. So we got both going with that. And we have UW Forefront, as I mentioned earlier, that's helping us with all of our suicide and safety protocols and a nice plan that we can have at the end. We have a partnership with Seattle University. You guys probably remember it from last year, but this is where we have psych interns, counseling interns coming into our district. It's a 5-year grant. It's amazing to get really qualified people here in our district. And again, Snohomish Healthcare Authority with Uniting Stories Coalition. And then every month, and we're actually meeting a little bit more frequently right now because we are intending to hope to do a community wellness event sometime in the summer, but we meet with people from all over our community to kind of get some energy around doing like really healthy, like health campaigns for our community and our district. So that is all. Did I get it in 10 minutes? Because I thought I maybe needed a timer. So, okay. Any questions?
Like they're, unless I'm reading this package. Will you go to the next slide?
Oh yeah, that's a whole bunch of other information. So I just added it for your guys' reading because I think it was going to take a long time. So I slowed myself down.
Well, thank you so much. I'll start on my right, your left, for any questions or comments. Director Hoiby?
Can you explain the suicide screening?
Yes. So what that is it's based on the ASQ. It's a model that everybody kind of uses for suicide screening, and we put it into a Google form. And so we have, when a student says that they're suicidal, we have somebody interview the student, and so they can go through a list of questions to kind of figure out the urgency of the situation.
So there's kids right now at Grove and Schultes or.
Oh, that screening is a different one. That's assessing for risk in students. And so that's a little bit different. It's an externalizing screener, and that's an evidence-based one as well. And so the teacher scores the student on that one.
So do the students reach out, like they say stuff that's kind of like rings, but alarms. To the
Mhm.
teacher, and- Okay,
Yes, yeah,
okay.
yep. Yes, it's state mandated. Yep, it's state mandated. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Krebs?
So I know you mentioned student services use of time. You were mentioning the uptick from 23% for building support to 30.8% building support. When I read building support, that to me is a proactive. And then when I read crisis response, that's a reactive.
Mhm.
And you notice, I know you pointed out building support increasing, but at the same time, you see crisis response decreases
Yep.
when building support increases.
Yep.
So I just wanted to point that out
Yeah.
and just kind of highlight that.
Yeah, thanks. It is what we want to see, so it's a good thing. Yeah.
That's all I had. I thought you laid it out quite well and you gave us the full picture of what kind of what your role is and the work that we do as a district. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Dr. Michael?
Well, thank you for the presentation. There is a lot here.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And one question that I had, how long has the program been up and running? Because it feels like it's relatively new in the last 2 to 3 years. Is
Yep,
that-
this is year 3.
Okay.
Yep, year 3.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And thank you for sharing these. These are delightful.
Yeah, they're pretty
and
fun.
The elementary one it's great.
Yeah, my student support advocates did a great job putting all this stuff together.
I
Yeah.
wish my kids were still little.
Yeah.
Some of these things are great tools.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, for all of us.
Absolutely. So thanks for all you're doing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Dr.
you're
Davis?
doing great work. I totally appreciate it and it's so needed because we just I feel like it's lacked for our students being able to have that mental health support, and you're doing it in so many different ways. I am curious when you the services that you provide for family and community, what does that look like and how do you connect families with your program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that we do is really try to, with our community collaborators, kind of get our information out that way. We still want to kind of figure out different ways to do that. That's why we're kind of thinking about, what about a community wellness event? So we've been partnering with a lot of different, places. We're partnering with the tribe and we're partnering with Hope for Homies, which is an Everett-based organization that actually helps with reducing gang violence. So we're trying to bring everybody together to just really get a robust wellness event so that we get all of our information out and that it's not necessarily district associated. I mean, we want that, but we also want to be in the community so that people see what the resources are too. So that's one way we've really tried to figure out how do we get this out more. We've done family nights in the past, but they're not well attended. And we would love to kind of figure out, how to get more attendance on those things too. So.
Yeah, I had, so when you say crisis, is it literally, is crisis considered like a student that's having suicidal thoughts? Or
Mhm.
is it, because I think that there are other, cries.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would say I can think of at least one student off the top of my head who I'd say experiences crisis.
Mhm.
And I actually told that mom to contact you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious if it was crisis was specific to suicide.
No, it's really anything that, people are experiencing that it feels like it's unmanageable. That's where we want to kind of help kind of step in. So whatever that is, we want to be able to be there for people when they're experiencing things of any nature that feels like a crisis to them.
One other question. Are all, so you pilot with Grove and you pilot with Schultes, but are all schools aware of the services that
Yeah.
that they can tap into
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so they're presented with the information pretty frequently and just with like links to what is kind of new and upcoming. And that goes through the weekly digest, right? Yep. Okay, so the weekly digest that goes out. So they get like current updates on things that we're doing that they can reach out for. Thanks, Eliza.
How about our student reps, Cheyenne?
Is this working? Okay. No questions from me, but you did an incredible job. A lot of information was presented, but attention was kept. So incredible job on that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So effectively for the elementary school program, you identify whether or not exactly. And the it's like risk assessment.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so what's your protocol if a student would be deemed a risk?
So what the protocol is from there is the administrators and counselors kind of meet up to talk it over, and then they figure out, and if like it's an immediate risk, they would reach out to us. But if it's something that, like for instance, if the student expresses some anxiety, they might put that student in a group that addresses that, like at school. And so that would be kind of the next step. So it would just be kind of case by case that they'd go through.
Thank you.
I also want to mention a shout out to Tessa Campbell over at MG. She said I can use her name and the school. She's working on a mental health documentary. So I just wanted you guys to know that. So she's kind of like partnering with us a bit too.
All right. A couple things. Thank you again for all this stuff. I mean, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, for me right now, I'm gonna take the tired. Right now, I feel.
Nice.
But I might put this up at my house for us adults.
Yes, I think you
That's-
need to. Everybody needs it. I'm telling you.
Great.
Yeah.
But also I was looking at the pie charts that you provided.
Yeah.
And wonder if you could talk a little bit about, it looks like in 22, 23, our threat assessments were at 6.5%.
Yeah.
But 23, 24, so far this year, we're at 3%. Is that like we expect to be similar at the end of the year, or is that more of an average?
It's kind of more of an average, and we have, I mean, Greg could speak more to he's not here anymore, I don't think, but he could speak more to the exact number. He deals more with the threat assessment pieces. This just kind of showing our involvement. So we don't go to all of them. So it's per invitation only. So that's how much percentage we're involved at this point. So that's kind of what that one speaks to.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Before we leave this, just one more comment. I'm trying to find the slide where you looked at partnerships, but congratulations, because there's a number of things in here that are funded by grants or
Mhm.
partnerships with different organizations to bring services to our
Mhm.
kids. And I just want to acknowledge that, because obviously we don't have a lot of resources necessarily. And this is an area where kids really have a big need. So
Mhm.
congratulations
Yeah.
on both the partnerships and the grant funding. I know that takes a lot of work.
Yep. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Very great. Good presentation. Very good. Okay, next up, we have Jody Runyon, Director of Communications with our upcoming events.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Robbins, School Board, and our student reps. So I don't know if Sandra mentioned it, but I just want to give a shout out to Sandra and Ryan, because they also produce what are called Wellness Wednesday videos that we share with our school district community and our families. And it's great mental health and wellness tips for all of us. They're very short and informative videos. So I just want to give a shout out to that. I didn't hear you talk about that, and it's a really another important part of your work. So thank you. So guess what? It's March, and there's a lot going on in March. We could do something every single day, but I'm going to point out a few things on what's on the screen here. This Music in the Schools Month is a big deal. So there are lots and lots of opportunities for music coming up. And so I just want to point some of those out as you look through this list. I do want to state that there is an event tomorrow night, MG and MPHS Jazz and Percussion. MP will need to reschedule. There's a new baby in a family, and so MP has rescheduled, but MG will still happen tomorrow night. I also want to point out that today we kicked off National School Breakfast Week. We know how important breakfast is to our students, so watch for more information on a press release coming out on that. On March 8th coming up, let's see, it's the Marysville Cooperative Education Program Incoming Kindergarten Info Night. So just sharing that. You heard earlier tonight about the Round Dance on March 7th. And I want to point out too, March 9th is Billy Frank Jr. Day. To learn more about that, I encourage you to Google that and learn about the treaty rights that he preserved for Native Americans. First day of spring is coming up March 19th. So I'm going to skip over. This list is available on our website. It's also in the back. So lots of things happening. Encourage our board and our community to attend, including our staff. And I also want to point out that Dr. Hill and I are doing some MPHS memorial planning meetings, and more to come on that for the school board in the coming days. So thank you. And that is my update for this evening.
Jody.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we've got hearing of business of visitors. We'll get the official stuff out of the way. To address the board of directors in person, the sign-up sheet is provided at the front of the room prior to the meeting. Per policy 1430, the board requires that those addressing the board be residents or employees of the district or the representative of such residents or employees. Parents or guardians of students enrolled in the district schools or employees of businesses located within the district. Speakers are asked to present their name and resident city when they make public comments, in person or remotely. Ray, you don't have to give your whole address anymore. There we go. Each individual has 3 minutes. Individuals wishing to combine their time must sign in on the speaker's clipboard. To combine time, parties must be present. A maximum of 2 people can combine their allotted time for a total of 6 minutes, allowing for broader representation of viewpoints. The maximum time allotted for hearing of business of visitors per agenda is 30 minutes. Complaints or charges about employees are not permissible during public comment. Please direct these to the superintendent in writing. First up, we have Ray Sheldon, and it looks like Chris, you've donated to Ray. So Ray, you've got 6 minutes. And we do have the fancy timer up front here.
Thank you, Ray Sheldon. No address. I have to jump another direction now. If we can work on the staff, I want to make sure that Greg wasn't thinking here that I wasn't. We need serious work at the schools, especially when they transfer from class to class. And I'm sure, I don't know if anyone has been there. I've been at MP and MG a lot when they transfer kids from class to class, and I go in there. Some of them are, I get swamped, and you just don't see anyone. I think if we could work and find out what the budget, I think I talked about it before, is some sort of alarm system. So it's at certain areas where the schools kids transfer. It just a safety concern. I mean, we tell our kids, you'll be safe there. And at times it's safe and sometimes it's not. If we can work out and let me know, or you just send me the email. It's going to cost $4 million in the budget to put some sort of alarm system. I've been at many schools and other schools, and they just have a pole with a light. If something happens, you pull it down like a fire alarm. It's just, and also it deterrents anything from happening if people could get there quickly. It's there. Was it SROs? Just they're spread out with what? Yeah, they're so spread out. Hey, I got 6 minutes. they're kind of everywhere and they just can't get there in time. And we need to sit there. So I'm too few of you have kids in school. Safety, things can happen big time and we don't know why. It just to be able to work on that. I know staff recommend that we can spend quite a bit of money on football fields, and you passed this motion before then for it, but no one sat back. Is there any other way can we use this money? Of course, only maybe 60 or 70 kids play on a Friday night or Monday night, but security. I sit back and think, last year, when my granddaughter was walking in between and she bumped a child in front of her and the kid was going to almost hit her in the head. Luckily, she had one-on-one. Didn't happen. What happens if she didn't have anyone there? This is a big thing. Security is a big thing. I hope we can work on it and find out what the budget would be to entail it, to install it, or work at one school at a time. It only takes once. And someone will probably tell you that's only happened once and it's a big worry, especially for staff members, teachers. Something can literally happen and no one's going to have to run about 3 blocks just to get to the office to get someone to get help. Please work on this and hopefully we can go in the right direction and solve this. Something way out of the blue. I'd like to thank the superintendent for being at Leah's Dream back in February for Valentine's Day. I had other prior, I would have been there, but who expect us to be in district basketball? So I had my priority, so that's where I went. So thank you, and I hope we work on this and figure out what the number would be, and we can control this thing before it gets out of control.
Thank you, Ray. And it looks like Amy? Yeah, I have a Amy and Laheen on here. Yeah, Laheen? Laneen. Thank you.
Wait until you go on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hello, my name is Lenine Fast Horse. And to Dr. Robbins and everybody else up there. This is regarding communication department liaison. I lost my son, Andrew Freiberg. He was a victim of the Marysville Pilchuck. Sorry.
Take your time.
Marysville Pilchuck shooting, 10/24/14. We have been recently working on a memorial for the victims of the shooting, specifically those who died. A memorial has never happened. It's been 9+ years, and we've been recently have been working on a direction to create pieces of memorials for the victims of 10/24/14. Within this group, a member of the communication department employed with Marysville School District has been participating. I stand before you and ask for this person to be removed from the project and the work because this individual is causing more emotional trauma for me. This individual ignores my emails, phone calls, and many messages from other members of the group, the Indian Ed group in particular. This individual has told many lies, and individual lacks professionalism and is culturally insensitive. She is not educated enough to represent or complete the cultural aspect of the memorial. This person seems to have another agenda or other people outside of our group. And this person is causing me to question the purpose. I lost everything. Ten, 24, 14. And I'm reliving it as we work forward. It's super difficult to work with this individual, and the emotional trauma this individual causes me is unnecessary and 100% unavoidable. So thank you for hearing my plea. I would like to proceed without this individual and have these memorials done. It's been way too long. And it just seems like every day is another bump, either on the team or not. So we have a group that's walking forward, and these 4 people deserve a memorial. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenine. This does fall into the area where we would ask that you please put this in writing and submit it to the superintendent, if you could.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our hearing of business of visitors. This time, I would hear a motion for approval of minutes.
I move to approve the regular session minutes of February 21st, 2024 as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation around the items in the consent agenda?
See gifts. I can read them out,
Please.
if you'd like. Looks like Marysville United Methodist Church gifted to the McKinney Vento Trust monetary gift to support students facing homelessness in the amount of $1,000. So thank you very much, Marysville United Methodist Church.
Yes, thank you. That's very generous. Looks like we do have some travel that was previously discussed earlier, possibly during the work study as well. And looks like they're all related to CTE. So those are covered by the CTE and ASB budgets. Any further discussion? Okay. Beth?
No.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next on the agenda in our board action categories. First up, we have Alvin, there you are.
Right here, ready for you, sir.
Alvin Cooper, Executive Director of Human Resources. You do not need an introduction. Talk about salary schedules for the SEIU 10 and the SEIU 12.
Yep. So way back in September, I said I would come before the board if there was any updates needed on salary schedules. So SEIU 10 and 12, there's a salary schedule update that you have in front of you. There has been a whole 50% increase of 50 cents, not 50%, 50-cent increase in casual labor. That needs to be acknowledged. And also on the salary schedule is the facilities foreman position. So those are. $7 p.m. All right. So those are just two things. Any questions?
Let's see if we have a motion first.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Did I skip that? Messing with the phone, I move that we accept the Service Employee International Local 925 SEIU 12 and 10-month salary schedule as presented.
I move to approve the salary schedules for SEIU 10 and SEIU 12 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we can go into any discussion.
I don't have anything.
This is an easy one. No discussion at this point. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have some policies for first reading presented by General Counsel Claudette Rushing. Hi there.
Hey, hello, good evening, everyone. So nothing more riveting than a bunch of policies for first read. Very excited. We're getting out of the 1000 series, which is kind of your board territory, and we'll wrap those up tonight. So you'll see here there are, let's see, a bunch of new ones, 1630 revisions, evaluations of the superintendent, along with 1630P procedure, 1731 board member expenses, revisions of 1731P for board member expenses, and 1732 for insurance of the board members. You'll see most of these changes are pretty minor. I mean, they're just house cleaning, if you will, and changing our formatting. We're working on a style guide. From what I can tell, Marysville has not employed a really consistent style guide for the policies all of the time. And so we're working to kind of clean them up, if you will, and kind of make them all look alike online. And so that's what you'll see in these. And 1825, addressing school director violations, that is a new policy. And you'll see for your ease of review that we have watermarked it as new. So it's pretty easy to see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They're not terribly exciting. There is one other more substantive policy that Dr. Gonzalez will present. I worked with her on that a bit, but I don't want to steal her thunder.
Okay, thank you. And these are, again, as presented by WASDA, updated recommendations.
That is correct. Yeah, they're all basically ours compared to theirs and then redlined. I know there were some good questions about that. They might want to generate discussion, maybe not, but yes, they are all essentially the WASDA recommendations. And what we had in existence before for evaluation of the superintendent kind of required more than WASDA. And generally the way the law works is we're allowed to require more, but not less. So, you know, theoretically you could keep what we had if you like it, or you could adopt the WASDA model, which is a little more concise. And I think that would give you kind of leeway to adopt your own procedures annually with a little bit more latitude.
Okay, so yeah, before we get into any further discussion, do we have a motion?
Yeah, move to approve policy number 1630, 1731, 1732, and 1825 for first reading.
Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Board, any comments or questions?
So just so everyone's aware, this action that we're taking isn't approving these policies. It's just opening the floor for us to be able to review and discuss. So always try to make that clear every time we do a first reading.
Difference between the first and second readings.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a comment on the evaluation of the superintendent policy piece. And as Claudette pointed out, this is a WISDA recommendation. It's a little bit more simplified from what we've typically had. And when I initially looked at it, I think some of my thoughts were for a newer board. It's nice to have some of those benchmarks. I know we've looked at calendaring out some of the things, you know, because different policies set dates for different things to get accomplished. So just from that standpoint, nice to have some dates. That said, I don't know that the dates in our old policy necessarily transferred very well to some of the other policies. So I think after kind of hearing what you had to say, maybe a more general policy is fine. I think as long as we work together to make sure that we hit those targets, if you will, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that dates, the exact dates may not be as important as the milestones themselves. You know, so I hate to use check in a box, but make sure that we hit the right items throughout the year. The simpler things get, the more things can be missed. So that's a conversation we can have.
Right, right. I mean, I guess that's part of my thought is if it's not, like, as we've talked about before, it's not on the calendar. Sometimes it doesn't, maybe it might get missed. So,
Yeah, I mean, for everybody's knowledge, we have a board calendar of events that we want to make sure that we, per policy, are required to do. That's our job. So we want to make sure that we actually have a calendar that we can look at and not miss these things, these important items that are our responsibility.
My comments were just that, this policy to me has a lot of SOP in it as opposed to policy. So, I think having generalized, but ensuring that we develop our own procedure, our own SOP.
Yep, absolutely. Good. All right, if there's no more discussion, all in favor?
I,
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Okay, third item on the board action part of the agenda, policy number 6022, minimum fund balance for first reading. Presenter, Dr. Lisa Gonzalez, Executive Director of Finance and Operations.
Thank you very much. And whenever Ms. Rushing would like to steal my thunder, I will go ahead and let her do that. This is not terribly riveting, but I did want to explain what this is. Our fiscal department is bringing forth the recommendation to change one of the board policies, and this has to do with a minimum reserve. When we started taking a look at the minimum reserve in Marysville, the board policy states 8%. And in talking with other school districts, it sounded a little high. This is nothing that the state collects information on. So I've gone back and forth with the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, with the Educational Service District, and they do not collect this type of information. Their anecdotal comments to me were that it sounded like it was a bit high. And so over the course of the last month or so, I've been talking with other school districts around the state. You have some examples in front of you. And really what it shows in most districts is they're somewhere between 3 and 5%. So one of the questions is, why was ours 8%? Well, we believe that when this policy was last altered, which was in 2016, that the board at the time wanted to make sure that we had at least 1 month of cash reserve to be able to cover anything that might come up in the course of the expenses of a month of operations. With that said, for a district that's our size, it seems to be an amount that is significantly higher than other districts. The statewide average is somewhere around 4%, according to OSPI, but again, they don't collect any of this information. And so the recommendation before you is to reduce the amount to 5%, based on the fact that we are a larger district and 5% is a more reasonable number. That means that in order for us to exit binding conditions, instead of needing an 8% reserve, we would need a 5% reserve. I want to be clear that we are not bringing this recommendation forward in order to make it easier to get out of binding conditions, but really to be more consistent with the practices of other districts that have established lower amounts. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve policy number 6022 for first reading.
a second.
We have a motion and a second. We can move into discussion. Do we have any discussion from the board?
Yeah, that was, you kind of answered the question that I had, but I just wanted to kind of get a pros and cons of why, of that 8% number. And you kind of laid it out. It was, we wanted to have a month's worth of expenses, but it seems like 8% isn't standard within Washington. And so, yeah, do you have kind of a pros and cons list other than that, or?
Well, a pro would be that we would be more consistent with other districts. And let me just give you some quick numbers. I put us in the category of having approximately 9,300 students. When I go up the list here of districts that are slightly larger than us, I see 5%, 5%, 5%, 5 to 6%, 4%, 3 to 7, 5, 3 to 5, 3. When I go to districts that are a little smaller, 3 to 5%, 3 to 5%, 5%, 5 to 7%, 5%, 3 to 5%. And so you can really see from this range of about 20 other districts, including all of those that are within our area, that the number really is lower. So the advantage is, I mean, there is an advantage to binding conditions, but more so it means that when we don't have as large of a reserve, we have more funds available to spend on other things, whether it be operating expenses, whether it would be inflationary issues, whether it would be increased salaries for staff. It does free up more funds to be able to do that. A downside most certainly would be if we continue to have cash flow problems, the funds would be there. With that said, we've got cash flow problems and we're not even close to hitting the 5% mark. As a matter of fact, we're expecting to be somewhere, I think it's negative 1.62% at the end of the year if everything comes out the way that we're estimating it now.
What is it? And what is that? If you already have that number, what typically is that 3% difference?
Can I borrow a pen? If 1% right now, I can get it open. If 1% is roughly 1.9, that would be about a little less than $6 million based on our current expenditures. Sounds about right.
Thank you.
We're good?
So I think you've answered a lot of my questions. How it would impact binding conditions, that makes sense. I think aligning with other districts also makes some sense. I guess one of the areas I have of concern, again, just kind of goes back to that argument about having cash on hand. And at least for me, one of my moments of heartburn being up here is, needing to find money to make payroll. And I don't know that I want us to be in that position again. I suppose, though, this is a policy that we could adopt and see how it goes, and at some point increase it if we felt the need to. But I do think, and I hate to bring up the double levy loss, but if we are ever in that position again, having some reserves is helpful. Anyway, but first reading, think about it.
That's good. So, we've had some conversations in meetings prior, and, the way I look at it is, again, I'm not too far off the mark with Director Michael on giving a shot and seeing, but, there's been a lot of efficiencies that your group has put into place with how we spend money and reducing, spend as anywhere where we can. So when you take that into account, would the 5% actually be equivalent to 8%? 8% was set out there to last a month, but if the spending wasn't smart in 2016, or as smart as it is now, hopefully, we can say that. But would that 5% be the equivalent of a month's worth of expenditures when you're being a lot more efficient? I mean, and I don't expect you to answer that. That's more about me thinking out loud, right? But I guess you see what I'm saying here.
Correct.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our board action section of the agenda. Follow-up items. We have a March 18th work study and regular session meeting. Ray, I expect you to be there. Superintendent comments.
Comments, sir?
Okay, and then board comments. Start my normal round.
Well, everybody left, but I wanted to thank.
Everybody? Ray's still
Not everybody,
there.
but
Got-
The
got some-
people that, the people that,
Becky?
that I wanted to talk about.
James is here.
Yeah. Jessica Bustad, I wanted to thank her for what she said. And the work that they're doing, and same with Sandra. There's just really good help out there for our students, and I'm very thankful for what they're all doing.
For the first time, I got to interact with some kids at one of our schools during their recess, and you know, when I was a student going through school, we had our different games, you know, that we would play. One of the games that I played was freeze tag, which was very interesting, and so that. Let's see, this is a elementary school, and they were coming up with these sophisticated rules to follow in this game, and I couldn't even keep track of them. And there were about 5 elementary school students who were trying to teach me this game, and so it was such a joy. I think I was out there for every recess, and it was such a joy to be able to see the students have fun and have that childlike play. I know we talk about how divisive and contentious our community is, and when you look at these kids, they act like none of that is there, and so it's refreshing to be in that environment. And if anything, I'm just putting in a plug for volunteers because that was probably my highlight of my week, was being there with the kids and getting to experience play with them. So I know the district is trying to develop a more robust volunteer program. And so I would highly encourage, you know, parents who are out there who might be, you know, at home, to get out into the schools that are in their community and volunteer your time. And it might be more fun than it might seem like it's work. So yeah, that's all I have. Thanks, Ray, Amy, and Becky and James and everybody who stayed for the meeting. Appreciate it.
Being at school is super fun. Glad you had the opportunity. I am looking forward to Hoops for Hope Wednesday night. It's always a good time. Yes, Amy, we'll definitely be there. Wanted to thank all of our education support professionals. They add so much to our schools. And our Rockstar counselors. I see one in the back. And then also just wanted to highlight something that was in one of our Sunday reports that didn't get covered here, but our full day ECAP kids. There was some WA Kids data that showed that they were outperforming their state peers on literacy and math. So really hats off to the folks that are teaching our littlest ones and getting them ready for kindergarten. And then I would just next meeting probably do for a legislative report. The legislature is working fast and furiously to wind things up. Should be done by March 7th. And it looks like there's some positive momentum for some of the things that are on our agenda. So, and then some other things as well, but there's some good things. So.
Director Davis.
AHLP good evening, everybody. Thank you for sticking it out and being here and making these meetings and our kids, our students, and our wonderful staff important to your day and always showing up for them. I want to also just say how amazing the work that Sandra and her team are doing. I really appreciate that because our kids literally cannot learn when they're struggling through a crisis or they just don't have the skills or the capacity to regulate their emotions. And so just teaching those coping skills and then offering those opportunities to our families to help find ways to develop and grow their children is amazing. And I've always felt like that was a piece that is missing in the traditional education system. So it's nice to see that we're having those changes. I would like to see maybe some further data on how that program's addressing or some of the numbers for the drug and alcohol or the fentanyl crisis. Cause I know that there's, I mean, it's hitting us hard out at Tulalip, and I'm sure in Marysville, but I'm only really familiar with some of the Tulalip numbers. So it would be nice to see some of those numbers, but also find an opportunity, which I know Sandra already said that she does do that partnership, but I believe that our Tulalip education program is working currently on developing some strategy around how Tulalip will address that crisis. So building that partnership further. I too also want to say thank you to all of our support staff, and I do hope that we can find some special way besides just reading that announcement from Governor Inslee to honor all of our support staff, because it is those folks who keep schools running and keep schools operating. So that is maybe it. I also really appreciate Ray's topic about safety, and I just wondered about the possibility of maybe like a text line or something as a option. And you really do have to run like 3 blocks if you're in a certain spot at MP and you're seeking some help. So just a thought that I had about how could we do that and provide an opportunity for safety. But again, thank you everybody, Tigwitsid, and good work to all of you who presented tonight.
Thank you, Director Davis. Dominic?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep this short, maybe a little curt, but thank you all for coming, staying late. I know a lot of you are parents, a lot of you are teachers on top of that, or staff. So after taking a day of work, coming here and listening and having to wait your turn to talk, it's valuable as always. Particularly Maria Sheldon, I always love hearing what you have to say, sharing your input and bridging I have multiple Alaska Native family members. We foster Native youth, specifically those with developmental disabilities or from traumatic backgrounds. And so it's always really nice to have that representation coming here and sharing that viewpoint that for years was neglected. And there's still so much work to do, but it's a great start to ensuring that perspective is not heard, because heard's not enough, but embraced. That'll be all. Thank you.
I don't have too much to say. It was a pretty calm meeting today, but definitely a lot of positive and impactful things were shared. Thank you to everyone that's still here. It's not as late as it usually is, but regardless, thank you all for being here. And I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dom. Cheyenne? I don't have very much to add because most of everything that I was going to bring up was very eloquently covered by the board. At this time, the Marysville School District Board of Directors will meet in executive session starting at 7:30. Following this regular session, we're going to meet for 1 hour, ending at 8:30 to confer with the legal counsel and discuss litigation. No action